dog issues. I'm taking care of my daughter's dog. She came to pick him up and her up, and I don't remember where the leash is. So. Back to it. All right. So, fourth millennium man. David lived about 80 years. Jesus lived about 33. I couldn't wait to do that for him. I'm so glad. I wanted to call out Esther. Esther, how many years did Jesus live? She was at 33. I go, oh, you don't believe in the resurrection? I planned that. I really had. All right, so we have David and Jesus here. And that's where we kind of stopped last week. We kind of stopped with this idea that David was the beginning of, he was the fourth millennium man, but what was created on the fourth day of creation? Stars?
Light.
Sun and moon. Now light was created, light and darkness, that was first day. But now we have stars and the sun and the moon. And we talked about that. Who is the sun? Jesus was. When was Jesus born, during what millennium? No, he was this millennium. Fourth. Remember, he was born about 4 BC. He was actually born at the end of the fourth millennium. So when you think of David and then Jesus and then, well, the moon, that's the beginning of the church. Really, that happens later. Well, these are all those who reflect Jesus, but so I guess it doesn't fit there. But remember, Jesus was born at the end of the fourth millennium. But because he lives, he is going to be our fifth millennium man. Because he lives, he's going to be our sixth millennium man. Because he's coming back, he's going to be our seventh millennium man. Because once you get to Jesus, you can't get a better man. You can't get a better man. And so in our charts here, as a matter of fact, there's a chart back there. Are the business cards back there, or are they here? Could you get those passed out? Great. I want you to see this in terms of how this all charts out. All right, I'm going to skip ahead because I want to get to something that I was talking about where we were actually getting to the fourth millennium man. Who is our fourth millennium man? Adam. What was created on the fourth day of creation? I'm sorry. David, thank you. Who is our fourth millennium man? David. What was created on the fourth day of creation? Stars first, and then the sun, and then the moon. Stars, and then the sun and the moon. All right? All right, now, I want to show you something here. This is very interesting. What are all these? Movie stars. All right? These are movie stars. Interesting. What are all these? Watch this. Can you see these? What are these?
Pictures.
I can't see them very well. Here's, no, you don't see them very well.
Famous people?
They are famous people. Well, here's this guy. He's from that show with Sally Field. What was that show? Very good. These are television stars. All right? Got it? Movie stars. It's part of our common language. Television stars. How about, look at this. What is this? What is this all about?
Or sports stars.
It's all about baseball, all stars. All right? So when we get to the fourth day of creation, and we are talking about the creation of stars, it relates to David because David begins all these different kings, all the prophets. These are all the, if you will, these are all the stars of biblical history. Will you? All right. J.R. Church says this: on that day, God created lights in the firmament of the heaven. He created stars, and He set them in the heavens for signs. Listen, folks, He put these guys as examples in the Bible for signs for us as well. This is a prophetic overview of those days that began around the beginning of the kingdom of David. Born around the turn of the fourth millennium, David becomes the fourth millennium man, after whom the millennium was established. In the years that followed, most of the Old Testament books were written. We got Samuel, Saul, David, the list of the kings, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, all the prophets, including Micah, Joel, David, Zechariah, Malachi, and others, were surely lights set in the firmament, if you will, of human history to give us prophetic signs. So when you think of David being the fourth millennium man, you can think of David as beginning or initializing that line of stars that we talk about in biblical history. All right, remember, I'm just talking, this is poetic. This is poetic, but it should help you to remember what was created in each day of creation. All right, so that's where we get the sun, the moon, and the stars are created in the fourth day of creation. When were plants created?
Third.
The third day of creation. That's our problem with the day-age theory, because the day-age theory wants to say, well, the Bible is true because it's telling us that over eons of ages, plants were created during the third day, but oh yeah, we didn't get them light, we didn't get them photosynthesis until day 4. How did that work? I'm not really sure how that works. I figure they figured out maybe that Jesus is, when Jesus created, maybe God was, providing light for the whole universe. I mean, he's going to provide light for the city of Jerusalem when he comes back, so maybe there's a way that photosynthesis could take place even without the sun, but actually from the light of God. Who knows? Maybe that's the case. Fourth millennium concluded with the introduction of another great light. When the fullness of time was come, thus ending the fourth millennium, God sent his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law. And Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Remember, fourth day of creation is when the sun, the moon, the great light, the lesser light, and the stars were created. You can think of the fact that it was during that fourth millennium, at the end of it, when Jesus came into the world. All right? The sun is a type of Jesus Christ, but then Jesus turned to his disciples who represented New Testament Christianity and said, ye are the light of the world. But do we radiate light ourselves within us? No. The only light we have is that which we reflect. We got to reflect the glory of Christ. And that's why we talk about this. That's why I mentioned the Master is coming quick. Be holy. You want to reflect God's glory. You got to be holy. That's why this class is so important. That's why this lesson is so important, because unless we're using these words and these ideas to become more holy, it's just a waste of time, and all we're really doing is being busy. I don't want you to be busy. I want you to be holy. Just as the moon reflects the light of the sun, New Testament Christianity should reflect the glory of our Savior. During the fourth millennium, the focus is on points of light that give light as to why faith and what the promise, or what faith is, and what the promises are. This period from David till Jesus. We got Saul, then David, right? So it just goes on with those guys. And then Hebrews chapter 11 ends with that whole series of people at the end of Hebrews 11, where it doesn't talk about them much, but it just says these are people and they went through all kinds of things. They went through all kinds of torture. They went through all kinds of people fighting against them. And so then we get to Hebrews 12. And the reason I want to skip right now to Hebrews 12 is because I want to consider Jesus. Because now Jesus is going to be our fifth millennium man. And so when we get to the fifth and the sixth millennium, there are really two things that I want you to see. One is a very interesting aspect of the first part of the fifth millennium, because it's going to correspond to the fifth day of creation. How many of you know right off the hand who was created on the fifth day? No, just by a show of hands. Who knows what was created on the fifth day? All right, great. Now, see, when we get done with this lesson, you're all going to know what was created on the fifth day because of what I'm going to show you right here. I think this is just amazing. I get to change your minds. I really do. This is awesome. By the way, there's almost 70 people here today. This is great. Great class. I'm glad you're all here. Therefore, Hebrews chapter 12, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us also lay aside every encumbrance, lay aside the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of faith. We've been talking about faith in Hebrews chapter 11. Faith is the evidence of things not seen. We have all these examples of people who had faith and what they went through. But who is the author and perfecter of our faith? Jesus. And he's the fifth millennium man, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. So during the fifth and sixth millennium, the focus is going to be on taking the news of Jesus, allowing his kingdom to multiply on earth during the fifth